Recently, I've been diving a lot deeper into the world of the home lab. As such, I've slowly begun to have more and more things to keep track of. Things like the status of smart home devices, power consumption, and Docker containers. After a couple months drooling over Grafana setups on the home lab subreddit, I thought that it might be a good idea for me to make a device of my own to tie together all of my other smart devices in a stylish way. Here's what I did. For the monitor itself, I started with a pretty standard Dell panel from the late 2000s. I didn't really choose it, it's just one that I've had in my closet for years now. It's new enough that it's decently thin and has a serviceable resolution, but old enough to still use DVI and have some pretty strange viewing angles. In case you're curious about the details, it's a Dell E228WFP with a resolution of 1680 by 1050 pixels. LCD panels like this usually aren't the most energy efficient, so I was a little concerned about having it on for most of the day. After measuring, I found it to draw around 30 watts maximum, which equates to a cost of $16 per year. That makes the impact basically negligible, so I haven't thought that much more of it. If I do want to get that down further, all I have to do is lower the brightness or set some more strict active hours. Next came putting it onto the wall. Luckily for me, there was a pretty handy model on Thingiverse, of course linked below, that took care of it pretty darn well. At first, I was skeptical of the PETG plastic that I use with my printer holding up this much weight, but after some careful testing, I found it to be more than sufficient. The model does have a slight design flaw that lets the monitor tilt down, but that actually ended up giving it a pretty appealing angle when viewed up close. Hey, I'll take what I can get. From there, cables are just simply routed out into the side, which, while not the most elegant solution, is reasonably effective as I can simply run them down the leg of my LAC stack. Almost any monitor would have worked here, as long as you can find the right mount for it. Just be wary about cheaper OLED panels, as they will suffer burn-in real quickly with something like this. To properly push those pixels, I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4. I could have used one of the lesser powerful Pi 1 or Pi 2s, but it's doing a little bit more than just driving the monitor. Accompanying it is a standard SD card and sturdy metal case, which is far better than what I used to use. For power, the USB-C adapter that came with my phone works pretty darn well, but anything that can supply 5 volts at 3 amps also would have worked great. Finally attached to the Pi is a DHT11 temperature sensor, which measures the indoor temperature and humidity, albeit only to the nearest degree Celsius. Also hooked up to the Pi is an RTL-SDR from Newelec and a hammered up converter. I'm not going to touch on them much here because I have plans for a future video, but when paired with RTL-TCP, it works pretty darn well. Leave a comment if you want to see more on that sometime. There's definitely some really cool stuff it can do. And to cap it all off and truly integrate it into my smart home, I have a smart outlet. This one is branded as Genie, but you can find these all over eBay and Amazon for real cheap. This makes the monitor able to be turned on and off like any other smart device and integrates the entire things very smoothly into Amazon and Home Assistant. It turns on the monitor with my other lights in the morning, and it turns them off when I leave the house or go to bed. But that's just the hardware. In order to make the monitor do anything useful, we have to run the correct software. In this case, that's a plug-in-heavy installation of MagicMirror 2, Home Assistant, and Grafana. You may have seen a MagicMirror before displaying simple info in its corners, such as weather and upcoming calendar events. With those, it's mostly meant to just be white text behind a one-way mirror. I didn't want a giant mirror on my wall because it messes with the Vive tracking, so instead I just opted to use MagicMirror with a flashy background and a brighter font color. Both of those things are super easy to do in CSS, which is nice for me. Although with just the basic installation of MagicMirror, things do look pretty bare. As I alluded to earlier, in order to get the best experience possible, you need plugins. The community really comes in handy here, as they've made a vast array of modules for everything from real-time Irish rail data to full-on voice assistant integration with Amazon or other solutions. I'm primarily using the plugins MMM Home Assistant Sensors, which reads inputs from Home Assistant, and MMM iframe Ping, which displays a web page, or in my case, a Grafana window. But what is Home Assistant and why is it useful here? If you aren't yet familiar with it, Home Assistant is a piece of home automation software that aggregates various smart devices and makes them work together in ways that they weren't always designed to do. It can do things like turning off lights that have been on for too long and activating other devices based on all kinds of things, from outside temperature and weather to what the current pressure reading from your smartphone is. It's a really powerful tool, and in the right hands with enough sensors, you can do some pretty crazy things with it. Similar to MagicMirror, there's a huge community around making integrations and plugins for it. If I really wanted, I could even take it as far as opening and closing a garage door every single time somebody joins my Minecraft server. I'm not sure what point that would serve though. On top of automation, it also keeps logs of certain events like lights in the air conditioner, which means that I can set up a simple installation of Grafana to peek at that data that it has and graph it in near real time. Even better, because it runs locally on secure hardware, you don't ever have to worry about that data leaving your home network, and it's super fast to operate and query. So, here it is. I've been using it like this for about a month now, and again, I'm really happy with the result. I look at it all the time for the indoor and outdoor temperatures to make sure my servers aren't running out of power or storage space, and to keep up with my Minecraft server. Plus, it's a super cool thing to have in the background of my streaming setup, which is a shameless plug. But that's about it for the current status of this smart display. On its own, it's nothing too special, but when combined with Home Assistant and the RTL-SDR, it's become a device that I enjoyably interact with every day. And the best part is, there's still more I could do with it. I could replace the aging Dell display with something more modern, I could make it flush mount with the wall, I could add some accent LEDs, or I could even add more data sources. I'll get around to making that into a video at some point, so if that sounds at all interesting to you, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. But that's about all I've got for today. Until next time, I'm Zindswini.